In 1821, in a tiny village in eastern France called Anchois, a boy was born into a family of farmers. His name was Louis Vuitton. His childhood should have been simple: school, helping on the farm, playing in the fields. But life had other plans. When Louis was just 10 years old, his mother died. A year later, his father remarried. And like many stories from that time, the stepmother and Louis did not get along. The house that was once his home became cold. Every day felt like a battle. At 13, Louis made a decision that would change everything. He decided to run away. Not to another city, not to a better house, but to Paris, the capital of France, 400 kilometers away. On foot. Imagine that. A 13-year-old boy, with no money, no map, no phone, walking through forests and mountains, sleeping in barns, begging for food. It took him 2 years to reach Paris. 2 years of hunger, cold, and fear. When he finally arrived in Paris in 1837, he was 16 years old and had nothing. No family, no education, no connections. Just the clothes on his back and a fire in his chest. In Paris at that time, the rich were getting richer. The Industrial Revolution was starting. People were traveling more. But there was one problem. Luggage was terrible. Back then, suitcases were made of wood and leather. They were heavy, they could not hold much, and they always got ruined by rain. When you traveled by train or ship, your clothes arrived wet and wrinkled. It was a nightmare for anyone with money. Louis did not know this yet. He found a job as an apprentice to a box maker and packer named Monsieur Marichal. His job was to pack the belongings of wealthy travelers. Trunks, dresses, hats, shoes. Everything had to fit perfectly and arrive safely. This is where Louis learned. He learned how to cut wood, how to stretch leather, how to make a box waterproof. But more importantly, he listened. He listened to the complaints of the rich clients. They are too heavy. They leak in the rain. I cannot close it with all my dresses inside. Louis was quiet, but his mind was working. Every day, he saw the same problems. And every night, he went home to his tiny room and thought, what if there was a trunk that was flat on top? What if it was lighter? What if it did not let water in? At 16 years old, sleeping in a rented room and eating one meal a day, Louis Vuitton started to dream of building something that did not exist yet. He did not have money. He did not have a workshop. He did not have a name. But he had seen the problem better than anyone else. And that is how most billion-dollar companies start. Not with investors. Not with marketing. But with one person who is tired of a stupid problem. By the time Louis turned 20, he was the best packer in Paris. The rich families would ask for Louis by name. They trusted him with their most expensive clothes, their jewelry, their secrets. But Louis was not happy just packing. He kept thinking about that flat trunk. In 1854, at the age of 33, he made a move that scared everyone. He quit his job and opened his own workshop on Rue Neuve des Capucines in Paris. He had saved a little money, borrowed the rest, and took the risk. His first invention was simple but revolutionary: the flat-top trunk. Before Louis, all trunks had a curved top so rain would run off. But that meant you could not stack them. In trains and ships, they wasted space and fell over. Louis made the top flat and covered it with canvas called trianon. It was lightweight, waterproof, and stackable. Nobody had done this before. He also added something else: a locking system that was almost impossible to break. He invented a tumbler lock that became famous. Thieves hated it. Customers loved it. Word spread fast. In 1858, Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III, hired Louis to pack her wardrobe. That was it. The Louis Vuitton name was now connected to royalty. But success brought problems. Copycats started appearing everywhere. Cheap makers would copy his flat trunk and sell it for half the price. Louis realized something. A product alone was not enough. You needed a brand that people could recognize instantly. So in 1888, he created the first Louis Vuitton pattern, the damier canvas, a brown and beige checkerboard design. It was beautiful, and it was impossible to copy perfectly. This was the birth of luxury branding as we know it. Louis died in 1892, but his son Georges took over and took it to the next level. Georges traveled the world, opening stores in London, New York, and Bombay. He fought counterfeiters in court and won. He also created the most famous pattern in history, the LV monogram. In 1896, to honor his father, Georges designed the interlocking L and V with flowers. Today, that pattern is worth more than most countries' GDP. From a homeless 16-year-old boy sleeping in barns to a brand that sells $20,000 handbags. That is the power of solving one problem better than anyone else. After Georges took over, the brand did not stay in Paris. He understood that real growth means going where the rich people are. In 1885, Louis Vuitton opened its first store outside France in London on Oxford Street. Then came New York, Bombay, and Buenos Aires. At that time, shipping products overseas was risky and expensive, but Georges was not afraid. He knew that if the rich in Europe wanted Louis Vuitton, the rich in America and Asia would want it too. He also started fighting counterfeiters aggressively. In the early 1900s, fake Louis Vuitton products were everywhere. So Georges registered the LV monogram trademark in over 20 countries. He sued anyone who copied the design and won most of the cases. This is why Louis Vuitton became one of the first global luxury brands. It was not just about making good products. It was about protecting the brand and making it rare. By 1930, Louis Vuitton had stores on 4 continents. The company was no longer just about trunks. They started making handbags, wallets, and small leather goods for everyday use. This move brought the brand closer to middle-class customers who dreamed of owning a piece of luxury. The key lesson here is simple. Do not think local when you have a product that solves a global problem. If you can ship it, sell it. If you can trademark it, protect it. That is how small brands become worldwide names. In the 1970s and 1980s, Louis Vuitton faced a serious problem. The brand was everywhere, but that made it less exclusive. Too many stores, too many products, and too many fakes. Rich customers started to feel that owning LV was not special anymore. Sales dropped, and the brand lost its magic. This is the moment when most companies die. But in 1987, Louis Vuitton merged with Moët Hennessy to create LVMH. This was the start of a new era. Bernard Arnault became the leader of LVMH, and he had a clear plan. Make Louis Vuitton rare again. Close weak stores. Raise prices. Invest in marketing that makes people dream. He also hired new designers like Marc Jacobs in 1997 to bring fresh energy to the brand. Marc Jacobs introduced ready-to-wear clothing and collaborated with artists like Takashi Murakami. Suddenly, Louis Vuitton was not just for old money. Young celebrities and musicians started wearing it. The brand became cool again. This shows that even a 150-year-old company can reinvent itself. The key is to kill what is not working and double down on what makes you unique. For Louis Vuitton, that was exclusivity and storytelling. Louis Vuitton did not start with money. He did not start with connections. He started with pain. He spent 2 years walking to Paris. He slept hungry. He worked 14 hours a day packing other people's stuff. But he was paying attention. Most people see problems and complain. Louis saw problems and thought, how can I fix this? That is the difference between someone who stays broke and someone who builds an empire. Here is what you can learn from him for your own business today. First, go where the rich people are complaining. Louis did not make luggage for farmers. He watched wealthy travelers and saw what made them angry. If you want to make money, find a rich person problem and solve it. Second, make your product recognizable. The damier pattern and the LV monogram were not just design choices. They were weapons against copycats. In 2025, your brand is your moat. If anyone can copy you in a week, you have no business. Third, start small but think global. Louis started with 1 workshop in Paris, but his son Georges took it to 5 continents in 20 years. Do not limit yourself. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You can reach the world from your bedroom. Fourth, never stop innovating. Even after he became famous, Louis kept improving his trunks. New locks, new materials, new designs. If you stop innovating, someone else will replace you. Today, Louis Vuitton is part of LVMH, the biggest luxury company in the world, worth over $350 billion. And it all started with a 16-year-old kid who was tired of wet, broken suitcases. So the next time you think I do not have money, I do not have resources, I cannot start, remember Louis. He had less than you have right now, and he built a $350 billion company. The only question is, what problem are you ignoring that could make you rich?